And welcome to space. We're starting things out looking at the sun at the NASA GOES X-ray imager. And why, you ask? Why? Well, I'll tell you why. The reason is because we're going to be talking about Robitaille a little bit today, the liquid metallic hydrogen model of the sun. And the reason we're showing you the X-ray imager is because of limb brightening in X-ray. Yes, that's right. Why is it that the sun appears brighter in X-ray around the limb? There's a reason. It's because of the emissivity of metals versus the emissivity of gases. Let's look at 304 angstroms. We're looking at about 9 hours of solar activity here on November 22nd. There is a bit of a filamentary scooting going on over here in the east. You can see some filaments jumping around over there. And there are the time and date stamps for your viewing convenience. By the way, if you enjoy the original music, there are links to it below the video. This particular song is called Hemi's Here. It's on the SoundClick page, soundclick.com/Golden Cat Productions. Here's a composite image. We're looking at colorized magnetogram plus 171 superimposed, and you can see the colored magnetic fields there associated with that plage. Now in the setting mode. A little bit of activity down there too, but nothing to write home about. Please leave a comment if you're traveling for Thanksgiving. Let us know where you're going and why. Now, up here in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, my mom's visiting for Thanksgiving. We're going to have an epic feast. Back to data, the GOES X-ray flux is completely flatlined. No significant flaring or anything like that. Now, yesterday we saw solar wind speeds reach all the way up a little over around 650 kilometers per second there at the peak of that coronal hole wind stream. Things have now calmed down as well as the density. Current conditions are phi angle around 112 degrees. Solar wind density 1.68, a very low factor there. And solar wind speed calming down to 561. We got all the way up to KP of 4 there, geomagnetic unrest. A pretty weak coronal hole wind stream, really. And there's the data from ACE. Next, we're going to look at the geospace magnetosphere movies. And we're going to actually show you the pressure and density simultaneously today. As the content never stagnates here. We've got these synchronized, so you can see the way the differences in density affect the pressure. And we'll let that play all the way through. That 4 hours of data brought to you by University of Michigan. And for that, we thank you. And yes, that is an homage to Tosh.0, if you're wondering. Daniel Tosh is hilarious. Let's look at the geospace ground magnetic perturbations. And here we have simultaneous views also of the poles, as well as the global view. And we do see some anomalies here. We see some magnetic anomalies around the equatorial region. We're going to let it play through a second time just so you can see it. You can see variations in the B field known as delta B, delta meaning change in science, folks. Major perturbations over the Canadian North Pole, significant perturbations over the Siberian North Pole. Magnetic anomalies slipping all the way down into the equatorial regions, and the South Pole still looks like it's migrating into the southern Indian Ocean. 10.7 centimeter radial flux, which is a measure of the outer corona, back up to 71. We drew that orange line in there to show you where 70 is. Now we see some extreme spikiness in the GOES magnetometer, and it's probably because we are right at a heliospheric current sheet polarity crossing section. We're about to be back into the South Pole oriented portion of the current sheet. In fact, we could already be there based on those magnetometer readings. Here's the Gong 2 data, which will give you a more visual analysis of what I just referred to. Here's the last frame, and you can see getting very close to the polarity boundary there. We could already be in the South Pole oriented portion of the current sheet, so expect continued spikiness over the next 18 hours in the GOES magnetometer as Earth's magnetic field force line snaps across to the other side of the current sheet. Why did the plasma cross the solar system, folks? To get to the other current sheet polarity. Of course, why not? Why else? Anyway, this data 2 hours and 10 minutes old. Keep in mind magnetic environments can change with absolutely no warning. KP index back down to 2, dropping straight down from 6 hours at KP4 geomagnetic unrest right around midnight yesterday. We're going to look at cosmic rays real quick. The Opacity neutron monitor showing a slight downtrend over the past 30 days. And Barentsburg agrees. Next, we'll look at the Athens neutron monitor. And there is the data from Athens. That's 30 days, along with some missing data right around All Saints' Day. Next, we see Mexico City looking pretty flat over the past 30 days, similar to Athens. Now, Moscow has retrieved its missing data. Moscow hadn't been returning data for like 3 weeks there, and now it's back. They must have had the data, just hadn't updated it to the site. There's the scenario at Moscow, looking fairly flat over the past 30 days also. And last but not least, most people's favorite neutron monitor, the Oulu, Finland neutron monitor, looking pretty flat over the past 30 days. Here's DOMC Antarctica. And we've been seeing some anomalies at the Antarctican cosmic ray monitors. I wish I had the email address of those monitoring so they can let me know if these cosmic rays are coming from within or without the planet. Are they coming from inside the planet or outside the planet? Here's DOMB. Some anomalies there as well. And we have left links to the Network of Cosmic Ray Station site so you can go monitor them yourselves. Don't take our word for it. Let's go back to data. Other data, that is. How about the GOES electron flux? Surprisingly high levels, and we're expecting an increased level in electron flux over the next day. So expect some GPS errors. You can see that the relativistic electrons, the greater than 2 mega electron fluence has climbed a little bit since yesterday, and we're expecting electron levels to rise. We won't get into the physics in this episode. We'll just move on to the ionosphere layer, which is looking anomalous, especially over the South Pacific. We see odd charge-up events there, south and southeast of Hawaii. And let's bring up the latest image. You can see there were some heavy charges there over Hawaii, despite it being nighttime there. Not really Hawaii, more like the South Pacific, around where my pointer is. And there's the latest image, this one coming in at 9:30 UT. Earthquake rundown, we didn't see any major quakes. Let's go over everything over a 4 magnitude. First one on the list came in at 1810 UT last night. That 4.2 magnitude quake showing up in Mexico. Next we see a 4.4 at Guatemala. 4.7 at Japan. 4.9 at Japan. That one at extreme depth, over 400 kilometers. Next we see a 5.0 at Indonesia. That one coming in at 22:55. 65 minutes before midnight, folks. Next, a 4.0 at Anchorage. Please leave a comment if you felt that quake. Brett, how about a 4.3 at El Salvador? Next is a 4.9 coming in this morning at 4:54 UT, located at Indonesia. right around 100 kilometers depth. Major uptick in that area as well as the Philippines in the past week or two. Largest quake I've seen in the U.S. for quite a while here, a 4.0 at Oklahoma. And last on the list of 4+ magnitude quakes, this one coming in as we did show prep, a 5.2 hits Japan. Here are the pressure maps on windy.com. And let's just advance that. Lots of low pressure systems over Canada, Alaska, and the North Atlantic. And massive high pressure systems over northern Asia, the Middle East, Siberia, Greenland, major high pressure zones. There's where things will be in about 24 hours. Volcano Rundown includes Mount Aso producing an 8,000-foot ash plume. Also Sanjiang-Api exploding. 8,000-foot plume there. Mount Dakono exploding. 8,000-foot plume there. smAsho Pochnoi in the Aleutian Islands, if you're wondering where that's located. I brought it up on the map. And there's a location of that small volcanic island located in the Aleutians. Back on the list once again. Anyway, there's some seismicity going on there, probably magma chambers being filled or emptied. No anomalous activity observed in cloudy satellite data. Sangay, located in Ecuador, also exploding, producing a 21,000-foot ash plume. Revenador dissipated. Sabancaya still producing intermittent puffs, and Novatos de Chilean still exploding for indeed months. Producing a 14,000-foot ash plume. Please do not pole vault Novatos de Chilean. Last day for talking about the Sulphur Cycle. This article on SciTech Daily exposing new findings about Earth's sulfur cycle, something not particularly well understood, especially by climatologists. For instance, one of our favorite chemicals coming out of volcanoes is carbonyl sulfide. Now this is super important for the life cycle on the planet. It's involved with plants and animals. And global cooling, as it doesn't like to break down. It can stay in the stratosphere for about a decade, we think. Anyway, read the article on SciTech Daily, as sulfur forcing is really not well understood at all, especially in terms of climatology. The bad news is it makes the planet colder. The good news is it makes plants grow better. And we've linked to the article below the video once again. Last day for that, so get a read or just search on SciTech Daily about Earth's sulfur cycle. Super important to life. Speaking of important to life, here's where things are in the solar system. And there's where they'll be in 1 week. Check it out. 7 clicks yielded 7 movements. It's amazing. It's amazing. Here's where stuff is above my head. If you'd like to make yourself a live star chart, which you can even animate if you want to figure out when Deneb rises, for instance. Check out in-the-sky.org. Put in your location. And understand the distinction between your and a hole in the ground. As we go vulgarity free, we're going to talk 40 lines of evidence for condensed matter, the sun on trial, the liquid metallic hydrogen model as a solar building block by Dr. Pierre-Marie Robitaille. Let's read a quote. We're going to talk about limb brightening, as well as limb darkening. We're going to talk about limb brightening here. And actually, let's talk about granular emissivity. Why is it that the granules are dark at the border regions? It's because they're made of metal. Type 1 liquid metallic hydrogen lattice. Anyway, read the paper. We've linked it below the video. And we've also linked to the Sky Scholar channel. So if you're not interested in reading a 53-page long PDF, well, head to Sky Scholar. We're going to cite a specific video for the next several days as we go through small sections of Robitaille's paper, exposing the real nature of the way things like stars work. Let me play a quote here. As we're talking about black body radiation and Kirchhoff's law, here's a clip.
Scientists of his day would have placed a tiny piece of graphite inside the cavities that they built in order to ensure that the radiation was black.
Now, do you find it difficult to measure the radiation inside of a black body with opaque walls? As I certainly do. And this is applied to the sun and indeed to all stars in the universe. So watch the video about Kirchhoff's law, and if you don't understand it, just read the whole paper. As we got to move on to more stuff because there's still plenty of stuff to cover, such as our daily coverage of a local star. So we've linked to this article from Wiki also with this lovely animated 3D map of local stars. If you've got red-green 3D glasses, maybe don them and take a look. It's super cool. Today we're going to talk about, well, I can't remember what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about AD Leonys, otherwise known as Gliese 388. It's a flare star. It undergoes random increases in luminosity. Now, I don't believe anything random happens in the solar system or indeed the universe, as the word random is like an overused word in the English language, especially modern English, as people just say random just to throw a word in there and sound cool. Anyway, this flare star undergoes massive changes in luminosity. And it's a pretty basic star. It's not particularly bright or anything like that. It's just pretty close by at a distance of about 16 light years. Here's a paper about it, about the opacity or opacity of the upper atmosphere of active stars, talking about AD Leonys, again, otherwise known as Gliese 388. We link to all of it. Let's move out a little bit farther, as there's going to be a lot of stuff in the Science Wire lately about things like gamma ray bursts. Now, telescopes on the ground can pick up gamma ray bursts by sensing a thing known as Cherenkov radiation, which is that's the type of particle and radiation shower produced when gamma rays hit the Earth's atmosphere. And if you're not familiar with that sort of stuff, read the article, this one from phys.org, First Detection of Cosmic Monster Explosions, talking about gamma ray bursters, as we were yesterday. Now let's talk about something else quite distant, galaxy NGC 6240. Now, it was originally believed that the core of this galaxy contained 2 black holes. Now it appears to contain 3 massive radio sources, and there's a reason why I've been calling black holes massive radio sources, especially supermassive ones, since the mid-90s, and it's because we can affirm that these are indeed radio sources. However, the term black hole is simply a bunch of math in search of observations. Anyway, here's the X-ray composite image showing, I believe that's actually radio and X-ray there on that image. And you can see there are 2 objects here and another object up here, indicating a triple core to this galaxy, perhaps a merger of 3 galaxies. So another interesting article here, as this S source, we thought it was just N and S, but it turns out it's more like N and S1 and S2. So have yourself a read, another SciTech Daily article about NGC 6240, the New Galactic Catalog. And here's another, here we're just leaving this article here. We covered this yesterday also, the brightest light in the universe, the ground telescopes picking up the brightest gamma ray burst ever picked up. So perhaps read that also if you are interested in gamma ray bursters, as I am. And we've also included a large high-res image of NGC 6240 for your viewing pleasure. Maybe you'd like to make that your latest desktop for your computer, so we've linked to it for your convenience. Are you aware that cold is bad for people's health and warm is not, which is one of the many reasons why being alarmed about global warming is completely ridiculous? Let me read this letter by Thomas Jefferson. On September 8th, 1816, Thomas Jefferson writes a letter to Albert Gallatin. We have had the most extraordinary year of drought and cold ever known in the history of America, which of course wasn't a very long history by 1816, but nonetheless. In June, instead of 3 3/4 inches, our average of rain for that month, we had only 1/3 of an inch. In August, instead of 9 1/6 inches, they had only 8/10 of an inch, and it still continues. The summer, too, has been as cold as a moderate winter in every state north of this. There has been frost in every month of the year in this state, Virginia. We have had none in June and July, but those of August killed much corn over the mountains. The crop of corn through the Atlantic states will probably be less than 1/3 of an ordinary one, that of tobacco still less, and of mean quality. What's the point? The moral of the story is, folks, is that cold temperatures kill entire civilizations, and warm temperatures make crops grow better and make people less likely to freeze to death in winters, and so on. They also lower heating bills. Yes, air conditioning is more expensive than heating. It's true. However, cold in general is more expensive than warm, as parts of Canada and Siberia go offline when the temperature drops a half a degree. So all this concern about global warming, which isn't even a thing, are extremely stressing, as I'm not appreciative of the fact that so many entities are telling me that I'm on a plane to Florida, and then they're putting me on a plane to Alaska. It's a bit rage-inspiring. Check out lightningmaps.org. We've got some lightning striking in the U.S. It's striking in Memphis. Striking with the lightning, and it's pretty nasty. Sparking in Memphis. Do you really feel a lightning bolt? I hope you don't feel a lightning bolt, because we need the views. In any case, check out lightningmaps.org the next time you hear thunder. It could save your bluegrass. And here's the U.S. Doppler radar. Some snow falling in Kansas, Colorado, even the Oklahoma Panhandle. And those storms look like they're going to be moving pretty quickly. Let's look at the water vapor. As the water vapor map is the one to look at when the Doppler radar will not tell you what's going to happen next. Check out this long string of dry, massive air here. And we're going to look at the convergence zone over Tennessee in just a minute. Now, Doppler radar are ground-based systems that are only going to show vertical movement in the cloud column. Water vapor satellites do not allow the water to hide. So you see this convergence zone happening here. There's collisions happening between lighter, more moist air. Less massive air is going to be more moist, folks. And this dry band here. And anyway, next time you look at the Doppler radar and you're not sure what's going to happen next, just look at a water vapor map. It'll make things clear to you. If you just simply understand that dry air is more massive than moist air, and the water vapor will show you what will happen with the weather, that's how to figure it out, folks. As Doppler radar is often extremely counterintuitive. And moving on to the jet streams, here is the jet stream over the western world. And it is all over the place, folks. Meridional jet stream flow at its finest. If you're not familiar with what meridional jet stream flow is, it's when the jet stream flows north and south instead of simply west to east. And if you see it flowing east to west, well, that's a completely backwards jet stream. Here's the eastern world. And we'll let that play through for a minute, just in case it has any effect on you. I would note that there is still complete north to south flow over northern Asia. We're not done yet. There's still more studies to cover and more basic articles and so on. Check out this USA Today article. E. coli outbreak sickens 17 people. 75,000 pounds of packaged salad. Links to the article, and by the way, at the bottom of the article, it'll actually let you know what's been recalled. So check that out. And some people got kidney failure. Now, the scary thing about E. coli, folks, is that E. coli takes a couple of days to make you sick. That does not help our ability to find where the vectors came from. Now, for those of you not aware, I actually work in the supply chain. I am involved in food safety testing as well as nutritional integrity testing. The prime work that our laboratory does is just for food safety, you know, checking for things that ought not to be in the food, but also for nutritional integrity, as people prefer the nutrition labels to be accurate. And we do a little chemical synthesis too. So I have some insight into the food supply chain, and that's why I covered the story. Jessi Smollett is suing the Nigerian brothers that he paid off to perform a fake assault on him, as he's suing, I guess, the cops and his criminal mastermind counterparts. And Dave Chappelle's making fun of him. Have you seen the new special? Here's a clip.
All right. 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m., he goes to a Subway, and some guys in Chicago wearing MAGA hats, as if you could survive in Chicago while wearing a MAGA hat.
We left the house at 2 a.m. It's minus 16 degrees. You were walking. You're walking. All right. And where were you going?
And anyway, let's talk about the Federal Reserve and how it should be abolished entirely. Silver and gold coins are the only currency that the U.S. is technically allowed to make. Paper money is nothing but a bill of credit referred to in the Constitution. Any powers not enumerated in the Constitution are automatically prohibited and part of the state's rights. Anyway, read the article if you don't understand the Federal Reserve. You don't understand why legal tender laws are part of the tyranny of the Federal Reserve. Since it's not legal for you to demand payment in gold and silver, legal tender laws are just yet another reason, another method by which the Federal Reserve System is able to stamp its authority upon your economic affairs. End the Fed, as capitalism cannot be achieved unless a free market on the borrowing of money is a thing. The Federal Reserve artificially controls interest rates, which is price fixing as far as I'm concerned. Please encourage your local congressman, your local legislator of whatever kind, to make interest rate adjustments akin to price fixing. That would take the teeth out of Federal Reserve overnight. End the Fed. Abolish the Federal Reserve. As we need free markets to determine interest rates, not a cartel of banks. Now, Black Friday is only 1 week away, folks. Are you ready for Thanksgiving? Do you have your turkey and so on? Do you know how you're going to brine your turkey? And are you planning on going to Trample Warehouse?
Oh, the product's getting away. There's more room for boom! Slam!
Trample Warehouse. Check it out. We've left links to this also. Head to Trample Warehouse. Now, they don't sell anything. It's basically just a giant battle royale. Trample Warehouse, as advertised by Conan O'Brien on TBS. Holla. And holla at us on YouTube if you enjoy the content. Press like and subscribe. And also consider becoming a patron, the real associate producers of the show. Thanks, patrons, for helping to support the channel. We greatly appreciate your financial contributions, and we need a lot more financial contributions to reach our goals this year, much less next year. Anyway, check us out at patreon.com/smAsho. You'll get some updates before anybody else. And stay tuned for a bonus feature. And it's the 131 angstroms view of the local yellow dwarf. Please leave a comment if you have a message for the sun. Perhaps we'll relay it tomorrow. Please leave a comment if you think the sun's conscious, as most ancient cultures just took for granted that the sun's conscious. Let's look at the southern region and get out of here and run for our lives from the studio. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are out. Have a delightful day. Get ready for Thanksgiving. Let us know what's on your list of ingredients and so on, what your courses are going to be. We're still not decided yet. We're going to throw something weird in there for sure. Remember, stare at the sun. Don't drink. If you drink, stare at the sun anyway. Just don't drive. Seriously, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.